Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to start on the fuel system in the car. Also, little update on the trans mount. Evan's been working on that. This is the piece that will go on to the passenger side of the tunnel. So this plate will be welded to the tunnel here. And he's made some gussets and everything to make that super strong. And then it will be removable so you can take the trans out of the car, because goodness knows that I'm going to blow it up at some point. And then he still needs to do this other side for the driver's side of the tunnel. So he will be here late tonight doing that, and then it should be welded in and we can paint that up. I'm just going to paint up the tunnel with some bed liner. That should do the trick for sure. Keep it rugged and keep it from rusting quite a bit. As you guys saw in the last one, cage is all painted up, and that's where we need to start accessing the fuel pump. One other thing that I did pick up that came in the mail this week is some little parts from APR. So we'll grab this. See what's in here. So we have the carbon APR mirrors, which both Evan and I thought this was just carbon just laid on top of something else, but this is insanely light. So I'm surprised they don't move around when everybody's driving. But I know the pro drivers like Dai Yoshihara are using them on his car, and if he trusts them, I trust them. But they look very, very nice. They'll look pretty sleek on the car. If I decide to wrap them, which I don't know if I'm going to or not, it'll be much easier to wrap this than the stock mirror. Plus my stock mirror is pretty messed up for how many times it's been taken off and put back on. So figured I'd pick these up. They were a pretty good price, even new. They came out to $270 something shipped, so not too bad. So let's jump over here, put that away. I believe my fuel pump items, man, I mean, this is a mess, but that's what happens when you start building up a car. So I have the, howdy, there's Travis, but the DoucheWorks, douche, we'll say DW, the DW filter that will make it fit in the stock housing. And then I have the AEM fuel pump, should give it plenty of fuel. And like I said in the last vlog, you guys will see another big power adder coming in. That should actually be here Monday, and we'll let you in on what that is. That's just wonderful. Let's get on with it. Now, as you saw, removing the stock fuel pump, it can be kind of a pain, just as FT86 said in their video, to get all of these clips up at once, but it is on the bottom side of the inside of the basket. But then you pull off this stock piece, then I believe they say you trim this piece off, I will confirm, to fit the AEM fuel pump the same way they did. For reference, on the AEM fuel pump, if you ever do it this way, use the factory white spacer, a factory O-ring, and then a supplied O-ring. It might look a little silly, but that's how it needs to be stacked in order for it to fit correctly into the stock location. Press that down. You do need to cut off the original filter here. So you just cut it right in the center piece, so this two-prong piece is left over, and that holds the regulator in place as it should. Alright, now that we got the new fuel pump in, tomorrow I need to run and grab some AN fittings to run a return line into the basket here, as well as a return line back to the tank. And I'm just going to use both of the fuel lines that go to the left and right bank and tee them together so we don't have any fuel leaks out the back. And it'll stay a stock setup, safest way to do it from what we see. Right now we're doing the fuel pressure regulator. So we put a fitting into the stock fuel rail, and that'll go over to the fuel pressure regulator here. I bent the mount so I can get it attached to the intake manifold in a good spot that I can always adjust it. Now I just need to drill out this hole here a little bit bigger to fit one of the stock screws. And fast forward to a whole nother day and a new haircut. Hey. Now I have the pieces with the wonderful magic of filmmaking to tap this basket for the return line, and we'll just go it down from the top. But I need to pull it out again and drain all the gasoline from it. What if we run over here? We have the fitting we need for the basket. Just take this apart. And what I use is an AN fitting, an AN 90 degree. So this will go into the basket. This nut here will pinch the basket lid itself. And you kind of see how that works. And then we'll just run regular fuel line, 3/8 fuel line from that all the way up to the front of the car, where it will exit the fuel pressure regulator into the back. So right now what the girlfriend and I have done is run the fuel line next to all these other hard fuel lines to run to the back. If you'll also see in there, I did some bed liner in the tunnel like I mentioned I'd be doing, so that'll dry up and we can throw the motor and trans back in there and then get it measured for a drive shaft. Alright, as you can see we have the basket out of the car here, so I took that 90, I drilled a hole proper for it to sit in there nicely. Keep it tucked into the side, so that is tight on there. We're going to run this AN, and what I found is there's really not a spot in this to fit the actual fuel line, so I'm just going to run it from the top and let it kind of just free fall drain into there. It shouldn't create too many air bubbles just because it's going into the basket, so not super worried. At least it's not going to create much more air bubble than drifting side to side is going to do anyways, so should not be an issue. We'll do that. It'll drain into the bucket, and we have a return line. So after I put that all back together, we'll put it back in the car and run the line to the front of the car. Alright, that's all in, and there's our return line. So that'll go over the tank down in there. Alright, cover's back on. Now we're going to later on tap into these wires. We're going to follow them a little bit. One set is for the fuel pump, so we can set that on a switch up here. And the other set is for the fuel gauge, which I'll be running my own fuel gauge. Hopefully the ohms kind of match up, so that'll be functional. But I'm not running the stock cluster anymore. I am running a big set of Pro Sport gauges, so that'll kind of replace that. Okay, fuel line is in the front. You gotta run under this panel. A couple zip ties. It's way too dark for you guys to see. Put a zip tied up under there. There's a neon one. That one helps a little bit. And then it goes up over the tank in the back. So I will call that part all done. So with that, that's going to do it for tonight. In the next video, I'm going to go through a little purchase I decided to make last minute, but it is in this box. I'm sure you can take a little guess at what it is. Anyways, in the next video, I will go through exactly why we made this purchase and what the plans are with that. However, now that these trans mounts are actually in the car and it's all painted up, I can actually put the motor in, and I know I've said it before, but I can actually start putting everything all together. I can get the measurements for the drive shaft and have the shop start making that, so we can get this thing on the road. The plan is within the month to get her done to the point that it's driving. Obviously there's still a lot more that'll have to be done after that, like the wrap on the car so it doesn't look like complete crap like it does now. But we are getting closer and closer. The weather is getting much nicer here in Wisconsin, so I mean that means that the track season is coming up and I'm just not ready for it. But like I said, very soon this will be on the road. I want to thank you guys as always for liking and subscribing. If you have not done either one, please do that, and we will see you in the next video. Bye bye.